hope now we have a clarity of what is an epic, how the user story has been segregated, and what is a perspective that has been derived from the user stories. So, and we have already communicated with prods, with the product owners, with the people or the customer issues, or from the devs. So this is the right time to jump into the test design. So this is how we used to follow. Because now it helps me to have a good confidence about what exactly the product, what is the implementations, what is the fix if it is a bug, and what I'm going to focus on. So this is a critical phase which helps involving a prod like a business levels and dev levels on testing. So rather than directly jumping into creating a test shortage or test ideas or scenarios, because I need to run for implementations or the production deployments or the releases, whatever happening. So here we will have a better and a specific objective what exactly needs to be covered from the user stories. So rather than directly jumping into a test cases, the predefined checklist, we can call this as a product predefined checklist, which helps us to segregate the data, whether it is technicals or it's from the backends, it's from the UI or from the functionality. So in this test design, we can segregate all the critical phases or the critical implementations, what is the major impact or the core impact that I'm going to test. And it also helps me to give a broader level of test ideas. So test ideas in the sense test cases or test scenarios, we can call it as. So it gives, if I can get a broader level of test scenarios, then it helps me to focus on deeper level of test cases. So this is where the test case generation comes into, along with the test data and environment, which we already focused on user story perspective. Also, it helps me and the pair tester or the pair developer to understand how the testing perspective has been carried out and how it stands or how it is different from the unit testing that has been already covered. It doesn't make sense to perform a unit testing in most of the cases. That is what most people do. But it makes sense at least to understand what exactly the unit test has been covered. To be more specific, you need to make sure whether that is a unit testing or it is a name of a unit testing in a fake. So this is how the test design should occur, rather than a theoretical part of creating a test cases and segregating into a test scenarios. So this is my perspective. Let's hear from the Naresh what he thinks. Yeah, Naresh.
I think we have explained so many things till now. If somebody may have a question like when we are going to do all these things. So we need to do apart from the pair testing thing, you need to do all these things before your test execution, which means you may pick a story and your test plan. I mean, your sprint planning is done within like couple of days of a sprint. You can do all these things, and you need to ask all these questions to the respective people. You need to gather data around what kind of test data you need to use, which test environment you need to going to test all these things. If possible, document all these things in the specific story itself, because that is going to be a reference point for each and everyone who is going to look into the story. And as Logesh explained regarding the test design, yeah, we already know about what kind of test data we're going to use, what test environment we are going to test it on, what is the functionality. We understood the context. We asked questions to the developer and product owner, and we got a clarity. And now you can think more about the test ideas. So how I can test it? So what are all the ways I can try and break this application? So that will give you more confidence now, because you have all the things you require to write the test ideas and to write the test cases. So that is all about the test design and when you're going to do it. So once after you start the execution, doesn't make more sense to ask questions to the people, but yeah, you can ask them at any point of time. But if you have asked all these questions before the execution, so during the execution, you can merely focus on the execution alone. So you don't need to go back and think about what test data I need to use. Is it possible to test in different environment? Will it impact? So you should not have this dilemma during the execution. During execution, you should have all the clarity from the world, and you need to ask all the questions before and get this clarity. So you can go to the next step. So next step is pair testing. So as the name states, it is testing together with one other person or two or more people, you can say. They can be testers, they can be a product owners or BAs, or even they can be a developers as well. It doesn't matter, because what we are trying to achieve here is getting a different perspective from different person. Because if a tester is coming from a different module or a different part of application, they may look our part of application with a different perspective. So they may ask different questions that maybe a thought-provoking questions. So that will give us idea what we need to answer. So if we already have an answer, that is well and good. If not, then we need to think about it. And if it is possible, we need to add those test ideas as well. Sometimes we need to add the test ideas to the regression, or sometimes during the execution itself. So when we are going to do this pair testing and why we need to do it, we already explained. When so it's not mandatory that we need to do pair testing for each and every user story. In case if you think the particular user story is very big or huge, then yeah, you can include one other tester from the other team, or two or many people. Even you can call this as a mob testing as well, because you can bring testers and BAs from product owners from different teams, so that you will have multiple perspective on one single thing. That will give you more clarity. So when you explain something to someone, that will make you understand how well you understood the particular uh, topic, or you can say user story in this case. So that is the main idea of pair testing. So what are we trying to achieve with this pair testing? It's like cross team collaboration. So if you go and participate in pair testing of the other team and other modules, you may know well aware about the other part as well. In case in future, if you are going to get a functionality or user story which is going to talk to the particular module or application, you will have a well better understanding even before your PO or BA explains about it. And two perspective, as I said already, breaking down the silos is like we in Agile Scrum, each and every tester belong to their own team. They'll focus more on their module, their application alone. So what we are trying to achieve here is like breaking down the silos. So you need to come out of the particular module so that you can have a bigger picture, have a bigger thinking about the whole platform. You need to think about who is going to use it and everything. So that is the main idea of pair testing. So yeah, Logesh, your take on pair testing.
Almost 95% has been covered, like 100% has been covered. So mostly pair testing, a few people will say like, hey, it sounds like two people sit in a single machine and they work together, either to complete it or to evaluate a single test. Yeah, that is a pair testing. And also a single task has been segregated to two different peoples, and come up with the two different scenarios, come up with the two multiple focuses, multiple knowledge, multiple sessions. So that's also a pair testing. But in general, so what pair testing is, it's a combination of a dev product or a tester. So it can be a pair, or I can connect with dev, or I can connect with product. It can be of any pairs. So like in most of the instances or in scenarios, I can connect with the customer if I have rights, or if I have a possible solution for that. So I connect with the customers from the customer perspective, and I connect with business analyst or the product owner to understand how the business has been communicated from the customers. I connect with the solution design or technical writer. So from the writing perspective, understanding perspective, how they are clubbing the ideas into it. So that can be a pair testing. Mostly one person uses their mouse and keyboard, or the other person focus mostly on asking questions, segregating the test process, and commenting it, analyzing and understanding, or helping the other pair tester, right? Is the right question? No, these are the dumb questions, but still you need to ask. So this is how a pair testing should go. And if you take me an example, so whenever a user story comes to me, I understand, so I connect with the Naresh. So before that, I create my pointers, and whenever I go ahead, so that is where what happens. So we analyze. He mostly says no whenever I say yes. So that is where the understanding starts. That is where the knowledge sharing session starts. If you're not doing it, please try to do it. Start with your tester. So it will be really helpful, and it's a wonderful thing that you're going to enjoy it and all that. That's a takeaway from it. So can I go ahead to next one?
Yes, Manish. So yeah, we till now we spoke more about the user story testing, and we haven't spoke about epic testing. So as we already explained, what is an epic? Epic is nothing but a group of user stories, and sometimes user stories from epic falls into one single Scrum team, or sometimes it falls into multiple different teams, or you can say even for multiple modules, which as I explained for the Airtel, like the BSNL 5G example. So some user stories may fall into order entry, some user stories may fall into a CRM type of like application, and some user stories from a particular epic can fall into billing and provisioning. So in this case, each and every team only tests their particular user story. Nobody is going to test the whole end-to-end flow. Some teams they have the end-to-end testing as well, but most of the teams they are not doing it. So whenever you test a user story, you test it on your system testing, we can say, because you're going to mark the responses and requests from the different module. For example, say you have A, B, C, D, and your team is B, and for all your user stories, you're going to mark the request from A, and you're going to mark the responses from the C. With this, we cannot achieve the complete testing, and that will not give the confidence to the business owners as well, because we are just testing the functionality of our team. So in this case, if you want to do an epic testing, you need to pick the right flow as well. So you know the user flows, right? So in this case, 5G product, you can say the 5G SIM. So you have two things. One is postpaid and prepaid. So you can create two end-to-end scenarios, or you can say customer to customer scenarios. So I think these are all the different terminologies they use, depends upon the which application, which product you use. So you have C2C, customer to customer, business to business, and business to customer, and customer to business. So these are all the different terminologies you can see in the image. But yeah, generally we call it as end-to-end in our testing perspective. So you need to pick the user flow, and you need to make sure that for the particular epic, in this case 5G, we are covering at least two or few scenarios which covers all the touch points and all the functionalities, because the postpaid may touch different provisioning things, and the prepaid may touch different things in provisioning and also in billing, because billing works in different ways for postpaid and prepaid. But if you test it individually, it may work. But right after the implementation of both prepaid and postpaid, maybe the implementation they did something for postpaid may break the prepaid scenarios. So to test this, you need to do this end-to-end scenario. Only then you can make sure that everything is working as expected. And epic testing, you need to think whether the particular epic test only the particular module or the whole user flow. So based on this, you need to do the epic testing as well. And when to do this epic testing? So whenever all the user stories under the particular epic is done, only then you can do this epic testing. And you, for doing this epic testing, you need to make sure that you are testing in the environment which is very close to the production, because that will make more sense. Because in the low testing environments, we may not have necessary data, you can say, or configurations. Sometimes it is better to test with wherever the maximum data is available, because you can also test non-functional things like performance as well in this case, because in low testing environments you don't have enough data and everything works faster. But in the high level test environments which is close to production, even a small functionality may take so long, and it may even crash the application as well, because it takes more time to fetch a particular data, you can say. So to know all these things, you need to know that you need to do this epic testing, and you need to do it in the higher level test environment which is close to production. You can either call it as UAT or pre-prod. But yeah, you need to make sure that you are doing this as well, because testing the user story is well and good. We are making sure that the functionality is working fine. But in the end, in the customer is going to use the whole user flow, not just a particular functionality of user story. So we need to make sure that this is covered as well. So yeah, Logesh, you have to take on this.
Yeah. So my call is like yes to Naresh, and along with that, mostly user stories we consider like user stories are used to explain the expected behavior of a chunk. It can be collection of chunks, but whereas an epic is used to explain the expected behavior of the whole product or end-to-end scenarios. Like he said, for user stories, I'm supposed to validate or verify whether I'm able to add a product to the cart, or whether I can remove the product from the cart. I can add some promo code. I can remove the product code, promo code or a product code. But as an epic, am I the Amazon user? I'm able to sign up. I'm able to log in. There are a lot of products or categories that has been displayed. So I'm able to search, select, move, make a payment, make sure it is getting delivered. So this is an epic. So this is a real-time examples for you. Hope you already done that. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. So test coverage. So yeah, sorry, Naresh. So
no,
since
go ahead,
we have some clarity, hope me and Naresh haven't or was not trying to confuse you. So hope we have given a basic insights about what is an epic and user story. The core is like what exactly we are going to cover. So here comes the tricky part, like what exactly I'm going to cover if I need to validate positive user flow in Amazon or a Flipkart. So mostly what we do is the user is able to log in, able to select a product, moves to the payment page, successful payment, it is getting delivered. So, but here we fail to derive the coverages. Is this a high level coverage? What I have performed is a high level coverage, or is this a deeper coverage? What if API is failing in the backend? So is there any root cause? I mean, root cause, we need to find it. Is there any issues for that? So how did we overcome it? Are we displaying the right messages, or are we navigating the responses or a page to a right one? So is the response or a page or the behavior or the functionality is working as expected? So this is a deep coverage. Practical workflows. What if a user is using a routed mobiles? So how it is going to impact? This is a practical flow. So this, I'm not saying that only these are the flows. That's practical, but we segregated it as a shallow, practical, and deep coverage, where shallow is like positive workflows, negative workflows, like a base cases. Like I'm touching it, I make sure that, hey, I'm done with my testing and we are good to go. Practical. Hey, this is what I have covered with the shallow. Along with that, the practical thing is what happens when user is doing which was not what he or she is not supposed to do. Deep coverage. Hey, I've done the UI part also with that API, but the API is failing, UI is working. and the root cause and the functionality that the implementation is working as. So this is how the test coverage should be segregated. Now, this is from mine. Let's go to the Naresh part. Yeah, Naresh.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about test design, right? So during the test design, you're going to write all the test ideas and test cases. So now you can segregate these things into these three categories, like shallow, practical, and deep coverage. Because in Agile Sprint, they're going to say that they're going to do the user story on the second week of sprint, but even till the mid of the third week, they're going to not give you to the for testing as well. So in this case, you can clearly say that within the given time, I can only cover shallow and practical. I cannot do the deep coverage because they know you don't have enough time to do it. If your product owner and if your developer thinks that it is required, obviously you're going to spill the user story to the next sprint and you're going to cover it. Or else they need to plan and give the user story on the time which they mentioned, like end of second week or mid of second week, so that you have enough time to do the testing as well. So segregating your test ideas and test cases as this shallow, practical, deep, it's basically priority, you can say. But yeah, this will give you an idea of what kind of testing you're going to do, how well you're going to cover in all aspects, like edge cases, negative cases, and even if possible, you can do an end-to-end testing as well, if possible, because most of the time we don't have enough time to do it, or else it is possible. But yeah, this is my take on the test coverage.
Go to the collaboration communication. Yeah, Naresh, over to you.
So yeah, generally, in as per Agile Scrum, we usually collaborate to our teams on daily basis uh, during the daily Scrum or during the planning grooming meetings or even the retrospective as well. But are we really doing it? Is everyone across all over the world they're doing it? I don't think that is the reality, because most of the people, they don't even talk to their developers because they have someone called test lead, and only the test lead will talk to the product owners and developers. The junior testers, they don't even get chance to talk to these people. So in these cases, there is always an layer in between which translates the things between us and to the, you can say, stakeholders in this case. But that is not, you can say, healthy or advisable, because you may ask and they may understand the questions in a different way if you have a layer in between. So you need to break that ice, and then you need to talk to people, try to talk to people. If it is not possible, or at least you need to talk to directly to your developers, asking for the walkthrough, because that will explain, they can explain their application in their own perspective. So that will give you more different ideas and clarity. And you can plan for interim demos to your POs and BS. When I say interim demo, so for example, say you are testing a user story and you are 50% done with the testing of the user story. And you may not, at this point, you may have some questions like, what happens when I test this? What happens when I test with this particular user persona? What happens when I do this? What happens when I go back 2 times and go forward 1 time? Will the application work, or will the application will save the data and load it again for me? So you may have all these questions in between. So during this interim demo, you can explain what are all the things you have already covered. You have all these questions to your PO and BA. They may also understand, and you all will be on the same page, so that that will give you clarity for the whole team as well. So during the sprint review, there will not be much questions. If you have interim demos, that will be really helpful, especially when you have something like API and UI user stories. Most of the times you need to do this interim demo. That will help you really well, because you will ask all your questions to the POs and BS directly, even before the sprint review. And even if they want to change something because of your question, they can do it because they have time to change things now. So that is the main idea. And whenever you're doing this testing, try to take the test session notes, like what are the scenarios you have covered. If you have any questions, note it down, because you may forget the question after a day or two, because you will eventually forget to ask the same thing to the PO or developers as well. So try to make these questions, note this down during the session notes, and then share it in the user story of the particular user story itself, because people know that you had these open questions and these questions are already answered and everything is clear. And COC is the closed comments. So with this, you can clearly explain what is your context understanding of a particular user story, what are all the test ideas you have covered with this. In case if you have figured out, found any bugs, you can mention that as well, so that whenever a person reads this closer comments, they'll clearly understand that these are all the things covered for this particular user story, and these are all the things tested. These are all the things are out of scope, in scope, and these are all the things bugs found during this execution. So they'll get a clarity on what is this user story is all about. So yeah, Logesh, your take on this collaboration communication.
Yeah. So guys, we are done with the session. We have completed our testing, not the session. We are done with our test sessions. We have completed our user stories and sprint has been closed. Have we ever collaborated with the devs or collaborated with our product owners and verified how the deployment went well? Not from our perspective, like organization perspective, how the deployment went on a product, how the customer is satisfied. So what is the impact? So if he is satisfied, is the impact of being a bug fix is getting satisfied, or from the product perspective? So until and unless you understand it, you will not understand how the customer reacts. So when something goes off and something goes on, so we need to collaborate, there is no stop for our collaborations or communications within the sprint, within the epic, within the user story, or within the releases. So collaboration with the different team members so will help us to segregate, analyze, and will have a better responsibility to analyze or agree what exactly has to be given. So like sharing knowledge, sharing ideas, sharing the different complicated informations. So which helps to make sure that we are stepping ahead. So not only within the story levels or the sprint levels, we are ahead from the business perspective. Also, it doesn't make sense mostly when someone moves or shifts to other team, we do the walkthrough. Or when a product is new, when the feature is new, we ask for a walkthrough. So have you ever asked a dev or a product owner to get a walkthrough, actually, how the ideas has been segregated, what exactly has been implemented? Most of the stories, when it has been written a spike or backend, it never comes to me, and it moves to ready for acceptance and ready for done. But that creates a curiosity what exactly they are doing. When I go to GitHub, it says like lot of codes. So again, the next I go to GitHub, lot of codes. So I stop there, go to my dev. Hey, I'm able to see the code, but I'm not able to understand what exactly is written in it. So can you give me some walkthrough what exactly from the product or the dev prospects in a high level? So it gives me some clarity of either ways or in out of scope ways. It will give you some deep analysis or deep information if something goes wrong, rather than asking to bang your dev set. We can get along with them, collaborate along with them to make sure that it is happening as a team. So try to go for a debrief session. So consider you have 50 to 20 user stories. It's not possible, right? Yeah, let's 10 to 15 user stories in a sprint. At least try to give a demo or debrief session with your products or with your devs. Hey, this is what I have done, this is my test approaches, this is the bug that I have communicated with you, and this is the root cause of the bug. So this is how I have closed in the sense, what was the coverage, what was the URL environment, this data that I have used, and this is the coverage, and this is how it goes. Try to give a debrief session or a demo, whatever you call it, as to your product owner or to your devs during a sprint. Surely this will impact your approaches, your confidence about the quality. So also try to add your session notes. So most of the people, what they do is like, considered let's take me an example. I have created 5 test cases, I written it, and there is 6th test case which is coming into my mind. So instead of adding that as 6, why can't you add that, hey, in this test cases, after executing it, I got the test cases, because that gives the clarity. Okay, this tester has done this testing, with this impact he created a new test coverage. So also give a proper closeout comments, like I'm closing this testing ticket because this has been achieved as per the acceptance criteria, and this is the description and my understanding. This is a summary of the outcome, and these are the evidence. So this is how the collaboration comes. So once you are moving the closing story or the story to it, this is a brief thing from our side. And yeah, finally I see like 2 to 3 chats already in it. So let us know if you have any questions.